Mic check, mic check. I'm sure y'all can hear me this time. Mic check, 1 2 1 2. How are y'all doing tonight? It was crazy on the stream that I did on Wednesday. It was wild because I went a good 40 minutes of basically talking just straight information. I mean, I was really feeling it. I was in a good groove, and then bam, they hit me with, "We can't hear what you're saying." And I was like, man. So I wanted to start this off a little lighthearted, just to make sure that y'all can actually hear what I'm saying this time, because I made a complete fool of myself on Wednesday. The stream ended up going like an hour and 10 minutes over what it was supposed to, purely because of the fact that I was out here talking on a muted mic. And it would be a little ironic if I was out here on another muted mic again. So do me a favor in the comments, if you're willing and able, let me know how you're doing. Give me a thumbs up if you're doing good. Tell me, you don't have to tell me your life story or nothing, but just be like, thumbs up, okay, mad, whatever the case is. We're all human, we have feelings. But I do want to let you all know something. If you are alive and well today, you, my friend, are winning. There was a tragedy that happened earlier this week. RIP to Charlie Kirk. He did not deserve to go out the way he did. Whether or not you agree with his political stance or what he says out there, just understand, just understand that he didn't need to go out like that. But anyway, it says somebody said, "Can't cap, man. I need that one-on-one coaching from you." Hey, if you need that one-on-one coaching, check this out. I got a link for you in the description. We can do a one-on-one coaching, and that goes for anybody watching this. But anyway, I don't want to stay on the Charlie Kirk situation for too long. I just want to, I want to extend my condolences to his family, because I know they're going through it right now. Completely tragic situation. And of course, it was all over the internet at the time. But anyway, we're going to go on to the topic. First things, I have a few announcements. If you're watching this video and you're liking what you're hearing, do me a favor and leave a like. It helps the channel out a lot, and it gets the video spread to more people, first and foremost. Also, you will see me look down from time to time. I do have a bunch of notes just so I don't forget anything. I do tend to be a little bit scatterbrained. And also, I like to always have like a soda or water with me when I'm making these videos, because talking a lot makes me thirsty. So you will see me sip from time to time. All right. And of course, if you're new here, I'm Reggie Bryant. This is a personal finance channel first and foremost, but the purpose of this channel is to build better men who make better financial decisions, because Lord knows we need more of those in life today. And the thing about America is, and I know that I have people watching from, worldwide, but especially in America, people have a deficit in financial literacy, understanding what to do with their finances. And there's a lot more deficits than that. There's like understanding and being educated on food and how it affects the body and stuff like that. But that's another story for another day. I want to just help in one small aspect of life. We already have relational things going on. We already have food things and health things going on. I want to help focus on the personal finance aspect of it. You will see that my phone's to my left. To you, it might look like it's to my right, but it's actually to my left. But I just want you to know that the Zoom calls will be taking place on the phone. So if you decide to click the link and get on the call line to talk to me on Zoom, just know that your face will not actually be showing on YouTube. One moment. I just realized my countdown background is still there. Okay, that's a lot better. So now that we got that out of the way, ladies, you are also welcome to join the show and watch and listen and even get on the call line as well. I just want to let you all know the overall message is for the men, but of course, personal finance and things like that is not really gender specific. On this show, it is called Wealth Journal. I think I might have forgotten to put that in the title today, but the show is called Wealth Journal. It's where I share my own personal finance stuff, my net worth, how my portfolio is doing, and all that stuff. And I haven't quite figured out how to share my screen on this thing, but I might be able to actually do it during this call. We'll see. But anyway, I just like to show y'all what it looks like being in the process. I'm literally documenting my net worth building, and I see myself getting up to 1 million pretty quickly because hit my first 100K, it's about to double, and based on how quickly it keeps doubling is going to depend on how early I get to the 1 million mark. And I'm doing things in life to fast track that as well as being in business. So, we're going to jump into an interesting topic tonight. And just so you know, my goal is to become part of your nightly routine on every single Wednesday evening and every other Saturday evening. Tonight is, of course, one of the every other Saturday broadcasts that I will be doing. So I just want to be part of that because the thing is, if one of the last things you do at night is learn something important, but you're having an engaging experience, your mind's going to be stimulated, you're going to be having questions, you're going to be intrigued about what's going on, and you're going to go to bed thinking about it in your subconscious mind. Then you wake up, that might be the first thing. So that is my goal for you, to have money on the forefront or even in the background of your mind. And it's not that money is everything, it's that we need to start making better financial decisions so we can have better quality of life. People are living longer nowadays, especially with advances in healthcare and things. So I would like to see people be smarter with their money at younger ages, because that forward momentum from the very beginning is going to get everybody to where they want to get to. If that sounds good, give me a thumbs up in the comments, or in the chat room, I mean. And we're going to jump into this lovely disclaimer. The show is for educational purposes only. I am not a licensed advisor. Nothing I say should be considered financial advice. Always do your own due diligence. Can I get an amen? Question of the evening. What is your net worth right now, and what is your goal net worth in the next 5 years? In the last broadcast, I shared that my current net worth is $174,000. That's once you have all my assets and subtract all my liabilities, $174,000. So it's up 21.6 thousand from 6 months ago, which is incredible. That means I'm getting a good $3,600 per month. From a little bit of that is me contributing the money, but a lot of that is just the sheer interest of what my investments are getting. My goal net worth in the next 5 years, man, this might be a stretch, but I don't really care. My goals have been stretched my entire life. You know what I mean? I'd say 5 million. 5 million in the next 5 years, that would be absolutely incredible. I want to grow this platform, grow my businesses, Wealth Journey Collective, Wealth Sync AI. As y'all see, I'm rocking the attire today. Y'all might not be able to see it, but got my company logo up here, Wealth Sync AI. That's the app that I've been working on, but we'll touch on that later. Word of the day. Oh, also, my bad. The question of the evening is meant for you to actually put the answer of the question in the chat room. So I'm asking you, what is your net worth right now? If you feel comfortable sharing that, what's your net worth right now, and what is your goal net worth in the next 5 years? Drop that down in the chat for me if you are willing and able to do such a thing. Word of the day, allocate. I use this word a lot, but a lot of people ask me, what does that mean? It's a verb. It means to distribute or set aside, and that's a perfect word for tonight because, for one, I want to help you expand your vocabulary. Unfortunately, when you learn about personal finances, you need to expand your vocabulary a little bit and understand how these words are applied in the world of personal finance, on the simple fact that if you don't, they tend to confuse people. And when you don't know what things like allocate mean, it makes talking personal finances a lot harder. I do my best to keep things in plain English because I am not a fan of the verbiage, but sometimes you can't really escape it. Y'all understand what I'm saying? So I tried to teach y'all a new word, even if you already know it. There's nothing wrong with brushing up. I mean, I already knew what allocate meant, but it still popped up on my daily learning as far as words go. I'm trying to expand my vocabulary since I do speak pretty regularly now. If I'm going to be talking every week, I can't be saying ums and uhs all the time. You know what I'm talking about. So IK says net worth goal next 5 years is at least 250,000 to 300,000. Hey, that's excellent. You know what I'm saying? I want you to go for that 100%. That's awesome. How old are you, IK? How old are you? And yeah, that's very, very good. So today's topic is going from $0 to $100,000 in net worth, especially if you're in your 20s. This is coming from someone who's actually achieved that as I've been in my 20s. So 28 years old. I might have even been like later 27, but for the sake of this video, we'll say 28 years old is when I hit that. You're 24. Okay, awesome. Good to know. But and if you don't mind me asking, what is your current net worth? But anyway, gosh, my brain just did a pause on me. But anyway, going from $0 to $100 in net worth, I did that at 28 years old. I started my journey at pretty much 21 years old when I was fresh out of college. Didn't really know much about personal finances, didn't know who Dave Ramsey was, didn't know about investing or how to invest. I didn't know really how to save. I didn't really have a concept for anything other than what a good amount of money to be made per year was. If that was you at 21, let me know in the chat room, because that was definitely me. I really wasn't informed that well. And so I did start out life a little bit underprepared at this day and age. I'm 30 years old. I have a much more well-versed amount of knowledge around investing and budgeting, saving, and all the boring stuff that no one really cares about, but it's so important for you to actually live the life that you deserve. Extremely important. So today I want to talk to y'all about how I did it and how you can even do it faster. So this is building off of the topic that we actually had on Wednesday evening, because I went to talk about how I would do things 100% differently. And one moment, y'all. The size of this video is bothering me a little bit. Let me crop myself a little bit. One moment. There we go. Okay. Let me know if that looks better to y'all on the screen, or if I just did that for absolutely no reason. But anyway, there were things I wish I did, but we're going to talk a little bit more today about the application. IK says current net worth is only $48,000. Man, listen. $48,000 at 24 years old. That is good, because a lot of people in their 20s period have negative net worths. So you're already almost halfway to the 6-figure mark. You know what I mean? And with the knowledge that you get, not even just from my platform, but just I would assume that anybody on here is a go-getter. So with any platform you learn from, applying that knowledge and being wise about what you do and really understanding what you're doing, you can easily get to beyond 100K. If y'all hear yelling and screaming in the background, there's kids outside playing, and I so happen to live right in front of the pool. It's not really hot outside, so go figure. But anyway, if y'all hear that and y'all see me looking over here, it's because I'm like, why are y'all so loud? But anyway, the topic. 0 to 100K in your 20s. Let's go. In order to do this and achieve this, you really only need to worry about two things. These two, I know it looked like I held up one. Two things. These are easier said than done. So these are not easy by any means, but you truly only have to worry about these two things. Can you guess what they are? I'm not going to wait for y'all to actually tell me your guesses in the chat room, but I am going to tell you what they are. And if you had a different guess, just let me know in the chat room. But spending less than you earn is the absolute number one thing that you need to worry about. And two is investing and saving, the difference on that. Does that make sense? Does that sound incredibly common sense? Because it did to me when I first heard it, and I literally ignored it. I'm like, look, man, y'all are telling me stuff I already know. I can do basic math. I understand that I need to go ahead and save and invest, the difference between what I don't spend, and I understand that I need to be making more than I'm spending. But how often do we do it? How often do we do it correctly? And how often are we thinking about these things when we first start working? We start thinking about these things later in life when we have things to worry about and we have more responsibilities and we have a family, we have a wife, we have children. You need to start thinking about these things. If you know that your goal is, for example, to have a wife and kids, you've got to start preparing for that thing right then and there. You know what I mean? Like, I knew at the end of college I wanted to have a job. Therefore, I had to prepare on how to interview properly. I had to prepare and understand how much money I could expect to be making. You have to be thinking a little bit in the future, and that's the whole point of allocating. Allocating is setting money aside. And in the context of this video, is setting aside money right now for the future. Does that make sense to everybody? Because I wish somebody would have sat me down and told me all these things when I was 21 years old, making 65,000 a year, then not knowing the next year I'd be making 85,000 just from working so much overtime at the job. I wish somebody would have told me that, because I was spending money not recklessly, but I just wasn't properly allocating my money to get to a point where I could be worth millions, like millions with an S, by the age of 25, 26, 27, 28 years old, before I even hit 30 to begin with. But I am proud and happy to be standing where I am right now at 30 with the $174,000 net worth. But if I would have known at the beginning, just the simple stuff. But let's talk real quick about what savings is going to look like for you. And I am keeping track of the pacing of the show, because I do tend to ramble from time to time. So if I'm looking down, don't mind me too much at all. But we need to talk about what savings will look like. You need to treat savings like they're a bill to yourself. And by that I mean you pay your bills and they're probably on automatic. So your rent due on the 1st is automatically coming out of your account. Same exact mindset with yourself, except you're paying yourself first. You calculate at the beginning how much money you expect that you will be able to save. Excuse me. And you can be a little conservative at first, because you might have a bunch of bills on automatic, and you might bite off more than you can chew if you pay yourself too much. So do it in little increments if you have to. That's what I had to do. Or you can even look at, previous months of how your spending has been and look at how much you can save like that. However you want to do it. I do have an app that's on the way that's going to make that a ton easier for you. When that's ready, I think it should be ready by the end of the month, but I do want to make sure I talk about it in every single live, because it's going to help a lot of people out. It's going to change some people's lives out here. And that's something that I wish I had, because things like Monarch and Mint and Rocket Money, they're good, but Mint doesn't exist anymore. Monarch is lacking in some things, and Rocket Money, I'm not the hugest fan. But that's my opinion. That's my opinion. If you like those things, you don't necessarily need to make a switch of any kind. But that's the first part of what savings will look like. But you have to do it automatically. You have to. You have to commit to yourself, I'm going to save $200 per check. You have to commit to yourself. And then you have to make it automatic, and you have to make sure it happens as soon as your paycheck hits. And most of us know exactly when our paychecks hit, so nothing is stopping us from hitting up our bank accounts, hitting the transfer button, making it automatic, you know what I'm saying? And then set a date, and then a month, and then boom. Every single time that next month, like let's say it's the 15th. 15th of January is coming out. 15th of February is coming out, or whatever date it ends up being for you. So think about it that way. You could even do it on the 1st if you'd like. The point of saving is not to become financially free. It's not to become wealthy. It is for a peace of mind. That is what saving is for. I got stuck in the trap of, I'm going to keep saving. I'm going to keep saving. And then somebody came along and said, look, man, I don't know. I mean, you're doing well and all, don't get me wrong, but I don't know what makes you think saving every dollar you make is going to get you in life. But it's going to take you a while to even get $50,000. And then once you even get $50,000 saved, what does that do for you? How long is that going to last? At the time I was making 60-something grand a year, that's less than a year's worth of income. Therefore, what's the point? And of course I was nowhere near $50,000, but that was just the number that was thrown out. And it's like, that makes sense. And then I started learning about business and investing and so on and so forth. But what you need to know is saving is for flexibility. That's if, somebody's in the hospital, you need to make an emergency trip, or you have any kind of emergency, you have maybe $20,000 to $30,000. They say 3 to 6 months you can do that worth of expenses, but I mean, I like to just give hard numbers. It's obviously going to depend on where you live in the world, but I think $20,000 to $30,000 would give anybody a peace of mind. And once you get your first $10,000, that's why I tell everybody, when you're working on moving out of your parents' house, moving out on your own for the first time, I tell them focus on building 5 figures, because that's the hardest part. It's so hard to do that when you have bills and responsibilities and you want to have fun and you have like gas and traveling and going to and from work, going to the grocery store, going to the gym, whatever it is that you're doing, going to concerts, enjoying yourself, because life does need to have a balance to it. It's hard to do all of that stuff and at the same time have 5 figures. So it's best to start off with it. I wish I would have started off with it, but unfortunately I did not. In the chat room, if y'all end up having questions or anything to add, please, 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 please feel free. Feel free to ask any questions you'd like. Feel free to jump on the call line. If you'll scroll up, you'll see that the Zoom link is the second comment in the chat room. Let me know if this is adding value to you so far. But here's why it's easier said than done. You have to get good at a few things, y'all. 4 things for you. And I did list them because I just knew that I would probably freeze up on this live if I didn't write them down. Understanding the amount of money you make on paper is not truly the amount of money that you make. A lot of folks are in the market for a new car or even, a newer, nicer place, especially if you're getting started for the first time and you're like, all right, I'm ready to move out of my parents' house. I'm ready to start the adulting stage. I'm ready to get out on my... I'm congested, y'all. I'm ready to get out on my own. And then you're like, well, I'm making 60, 70 grand, so I can afford a place that costs $2,000 a month, right? That's not that much. You know what I'm saying? Only $24,000 a year. Not realizing we get these lovely things called taxes, and they absolutely wipe out, maybe if you're making 70, 15K of it. I haven't even gotten to state taxes yet if you got state taxes. And now, suddenly, your money is more condensed, and the 2,000 is going to feel like a lot. Throw a car note on top of that where you're paying $500, $600, $700 a month. Now you're really getting condensed. You still got groceries, you still got utilities, you still got, things that you want to do, like go to the gym, stay in shape, eat right. You know what I'm saying? Or eating at all is going to be expensive, right? Inflation isn't what we think it is. As inflation is explained to us, is not truly what inflation is, because they leave out fuel, they leave out food. So that's quite a big chunk. And I'm pretty sure there's a third thing that they leave out, but those are the main 2 that stuck out to me, is food and fuel. How many of y'all know food has gone up a stupid amount? Grocery shopping has gotten to a point where it's expensive. I mean, eggs are expensive. You know what I mean? $10 per carton. You're almost paying $1 per egg at this point. That's not a complaint. That is something that we need to look at and realize and adjust to in real time, because I don't really see it getting any better. And I'm not betting on anyone going into office and fixing this and wiping out America's debt and doing all kinds of things within a snap of a finger. I think a lot of the state that we're in right now, is going to take quite a while to fix, no matter who's in office, no matter who's doing what. So that would ordinarily be a message for my Wealth Journey Collective members, but I wanted to share some of that with y'all. But understanding how much money you make is not the proper amount that you're making. Number two, the other thing that you have to get really good at. So number one, do we remember number one, what we need to get good at? Understand that the amount of money we make on paper isn't what we truly make. Even if you make $100,000 on paper, you're not taking home $100,000. I promise you, you're not. Even if you did zero withholdings on your check and you got your full salary, Uncle Sam's gonna be waiting for you with a bat in his hand ready to hit you in your kneecaps, talking about something, I need my 20, 30 grand. And you better give it to them or they're gonna be after you. So, knowing that, we're gonna move on to the second one. Two, keeping your overhead low. I just told y'all, we need to calculate these things differently. So if y'all know the amount that y'all pay in rent is going to be a certain amount, you need to look at, okay, wait, how much do I make per year? And don't let somebody tell you what you can afford. Don't let somebody tell you how much car you can afford, how much house you can afford, how much apartments you can afford. You make that determination because you have to be able to think for yourself. Because now what we're talking about today is the adulting stage. And you can't fully be an adult if you can't think for yourself. That's why a lot of adults these days are behind, because they made mistakes when they were younger, but they're adults. Even though they were younger, they were still adults. And the world and life in general is still going to treat you as an adult, whether or not you know what you're doing. Once you hit 18 years old, it's fair game. They don't care nothing about what mistakes you make, especially if it benefits them, how much it puts you into debt, how much it puts your finances in jeopardy. Unfortunately, people just don't care because it's become an all about me type of thing where they're like, oh, well, as long as I get mine, I don't really care what happens to them. And that's a bad mentality to have. And that's another reason why I created this channel and this show, is because if finances were good for everyone, would there be as big of a place for people who don't care about anybody? You know what I mean? You would be so happy with your own financial situation that you're not worried about counting anybody else's pockets or looking at, oh, he didn't deserve this promotion, or looking at what car somebody else has. You already got a nice car. So in theory, I know there's still people who are going to be greedy either way, but in theory, if more people get their finances right, and this channel isn't very big yet, but if more people got to that point, I could see the world being a better and different place. Let me know in the comments about what you just said. Keep your overhead low, people. That's something you got to get really good at. It's something that I even but it's something that I even strive to tighten up on, because my overhead has always been much lower than what I make, but I still like to do things. I still like to have hobbies. A recent hobby I got into is Muay Thai, and it's not necessarily an expensive hobby, but you do have a little bit of upfront costs. I've been doing it since 2023, since May of 2023. But gloves cost money, shin guards cost money, elbow pads and knee pads, all that stuff costs money. The membership costs money, and then private lessons, if you want to get really good, cost money. You get what I'm saying? And I do all of those things. So, something to think about. Number three, understanding how the timeline of your bills works, whichever one is more grammatically correct. You have to understand the timeline of your bills, people. You have to absolutely understand, because even though your paychecks are cut evenly, boom, boom, if you get paid bi-weekly, you're getting paid every 14 days. In some months, you get paid 3 times, boom, boom, boom. If you get paid semi-monthly, you always get paid twice a month. It's perfectly cut in half. Your bills do not work the exact same unless you somehow, on an ungodly scale, planned it ahead of time. Your bills are probably uneven. You probably got one paycheck that's like, okay, it's the first of the month, rent's due, that's when all the big stuff comes out. Car insurance, that's when all the other stuff, phone bill, internet bill, everything wants to be stacked, right? And then your next one, okay, I only have like a couple bills on this one. So this is the one where I save most of my money at. So sometimes it's not about just saving a couple $100s per check. Sometimes you have to adjust. Sometimes you're like, okay, look, I'm really not going to have anything left after this check because that's just the timeline of my bills. But on the 15th, I can really take a big chunk. So that might be that once a month for you that you're saving instead of once every check. Does that make sense? I've personally customized my saving plan to pay myself first, but it's once per month. It's not every single check because my bills are so uneven. And even with a low overhead, if you have uneven bills and you're not properly managing your bank account, you could very well find yourself in the negatives, even if you're not technically on paper living paycheck to paycheck because you make more than what you're spending. So that's something that took me years to really understand and appreciate, and actually having my account go in the negatives a few times. But it's a lesson for me to share with you all. Number 4, saving money correctly by staying committed to your plan. You got to get really good at saying, I'm going to save $500 a month, and actually doing it and actually setting up the automation. And if you do those 3 things, no matter what, and you should be able to do it no matter what if you did steps 1 through 3 correctly. If you plan everything out correctly, there should be no reason why you can't save that much. And then, but the biggest thing outside of all this is you have to have a savings goal to begin with. If you don't have a savings goal, you'll just be saving, and then you'll look, oh, 40,000, cool, saving, but at what opportunity cost? I told y'all in the last live that you will lose way more money not investing than you ever will investing. Yeah, I said that right. I just had to make sure I said it the right way and didn't say it backwards. That would have been awkward, but you will, because I have lost money in investing. The best in the world have lost money investing. Warren Buffett could have gotten into Microsoft when it was pennies compared to what it is today, but he didn't. That was an investing mistake that costed him a lot of money. He's still the greatest, but I'm pointing out that the best people make mistakes. But you could also sell, there's a thing called realized gain and unrealized gain. So the same thing applies for losses. And I'm not going to bore y'all to death with this, but y'all do need to understand a little bit about investing if you're going to build your net worth up to your first 100K. You're going to have to stomach through things that maybe you're not as interested in, because you might not be interested in the term investing or what investing means and all that stuff and the terminologies, but I'm pretty sure everybody's interested in being financially free and being able to do whatever they want whenever they want, and looking at their account and seeing $1 million plus, or in this case, $100,000 plus. So I say that to say I have sold things at a loss before, and I might have lost a few $100s. I've lost a few $1,000s if you add up the whole time that I've been investing, but that pales in comparison to the 100,000 plus that my accounts have gained from the companies and ETFs that are performing. And each time I took a loss, I was prepared to take that loss because I knew that what I was getting into was risky or wasn't as strong of an investment as the other things that I was into at that time. Does that make sense, everybody? That's something that we need to be looking at. So, let's talk about what gives most people trouble. This should come as no surprise, but a lot of us think that if we make $100,000 a year, we really make A lot of us think that if we make $100,000 a year, we really think for a second or for months that we're actually bringing home 6 figures. And you are not. I promise you, you are not. Look at your take-home income. It shows you on your on your stub. It shows you in your Workday account or whatever software your company uses. It shows you when you fill out your taxes at the end of the year or in April or whatever the case is for you. So that, my friends, is the number we need to be looking at. Look at the actual take home, because a lot of people don't, and they make a lot of financial decisions that do not work out for them in their favor because of that. Um, Two, usually the first step isn't followed. So the first step is understanding that amount, which is what we just talked about. But usually that first step is never even followed. So the low overhead never happens. How can you plan to have low overhead if you really think you make $100,000 and you take home $100,000, so you get a $3,000 or $4,000 uh, per month apartment or something? You get a car note and you're balling out of control on paper, and outside you look good. You look like you're really making it out here, but your bank account disagrees with you. You know what I mean? So if you don't do the first one, this is the domino effect. You don't do one, the other suffers. If that suffers, everything else suffers. And I don't want that for you. What I see for you is a prosperous and fruitful financial life in which you can enjoy the fruits of your labor. You can enjoy anything, but you do so while still having the right investments in place. You do so while still having the right savings in place, and you can still be comfortable and do what you want to do. That is the life I see for you. That is the vision that I have for this overall platform. If you agree with that, say you agree in the chat room for me, please. Um, Number three, it's easy to get into thinking that both paychecks are perfectly even, which is what we just talked about. Your paychecks are not even. I promise you. Look at the patterns of your bill. Look at how much you spend from the 1st to the 15th compared to how much you spend from the 16th to the 30th or 31st, depending on which month it is. Just take a gander at the difference. I promise you, one of those greatly outweighs the other. 9 times out of 10. That's why do you think people say, "Oh, I gotta wait till next Friday before they do certain things?" It's because paychecks are not even, and because they're not even, and we don't plan for them, it offsets everything, and that creates a situation in which you're like, "All right, I guess I gotta use the credit card for this one." Swipe. Now you gotta make payments on that. So you're making payments on that, and that has interest working against you. So if you're paying the minimum payment, you're really just burying yourself. You need to pay that mess off. But anyway, you're paying that off, and you're paying your bills. And then now the paycheck that has a little bit of breathing room, guess where that money has to go? Towards the credit card. So now that can create an environment in which you're working, well, not just working, but living paycheck to paycheck. You've created your own paycheck to paycheck environment. We complain about inflation and how things are expensive, but we oftentimes forget that we create our own inflation by believing the number that we see on the paper when they say, "Hey, here's your yearly salary. Oh, you know what? Here's a raise. 5%. It's pretty good, right? Here's a promotion. You get 11 grand more than you were getting." You believe that number and you act according to that number instead of the true number that you will be getting. And that is what most people fall into, unfortunately. And I hate seeing it. I've been a victim of it, but I didn't remain a victim of it. I got up and started fighting, and I got it together. I was never upside down. I was never, looking crazy out here or making decisions that would ruin me for the next 10 years, but I was well on the way to doing so, just the way I was thinking. If you don't believe me, check out my last live. It is on YouTube. I talk about, it's called Practical Money Advice for young people, but it was really a video about me saying everything I wish I would have done differently if I could go back in time and talk to my 21-year-old self. I think it's incredibly valuable, and it's a slept-on video at this point because and it'll get traction as time goes on, but initially, I think if a lot of 20-year-olds watched that video, they would be setting themselves up for success. But anyway, I digress. That is I think that was number 3, right? Yeah, so 4, doing the math to see what number you can save consistently without thinking about it doesn't happen. And if it does, the math isn't done correctly, which leads to you doing what I said earlier, biting off more than you could chew and and such, and then taking money out of your savings to put back in your checking. And it's just, you're moving, essentially you're taking 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, and it's not exactly the most intuitive thing you could be doing. Um, Secondly, setting up the automation altogether doesn't happen. I said what I said. I can't tell you how many people have gotten on to my coaching. It's called Wealth Labs. That's the part of my company where I do financial coaching. I can't tell you how many people have gotten on and talked to me on Wealth Labs talking about, yeah, I just want to get my savings up, and we haven't even gotten to the point of talking about investing or like building up wealth and getting to the first 6 figures. A lot of them call because they want to save, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's no judgment on that. But I'm like, hey, well, have you automated your savings? 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. And that 1 out of 10 that has automated them, they're too afraid to put more towards it. I'm like, look, you have to trust yourself. If you've consistently been doing $100 per check, now your next shot is try 120. If that's comfortable, try 150 and keep going until you've basically maxed that out. That's what you want to do. I'd rather you max out your savings than maxing out your salary. Do you know what maxing out your salary is? Maxing out your salary is when you spend the exact amount that you make or more. It's like maxing out your credit card. You've gotten to the limit, and you see what I'm saying? It puts you in a situation. So I'd rather you max out how much you can save. TT says, appreciate all the hard work and you're sharing it with the, oh, absolutely. That's what I'm here for. I want to be able to share as much knowledge as I possibly can, because I don't want y'all to go through what I had to go through. It was not ideal, let's just say. And we'll talk about it. I do have a show. I don't know if it'll be this week, but it'll be soon. I already have like the next 5 shows planned out, but I talk about careers and I talk about being employed. And there's a thing where you're either you're either gainfully employed or painfully employed. That's something that I kind of came up with a few years ago, but I never actually said it on YouTube until I started doing these live shows. But that is something that we need to think about. And what I went through had a lot to do with employment, as far as being happy at my job and things like that. And having financial security, that's going to help you in your job, believe it or not. We'll talk about that in that call, though. I want to say one thing. It's extremely important, and it is the most important thing because it is foundational. So this savings situation that we're talking about, this is the most important thing. It's not the only thing you should do, and you shouldn't spend 100% of your time saving. I'm not saying that, but this is the most important skill that you can learn about personal finances just starting out, because it is foundational. You do this right, you're going to have savings, so then you'll be able to do the next step, which is investing, which we'll jump into right here, because I don't want you getting tied up in the saving and then neglecting this next part. Let me know in the chat room if y'all have any questions, or if the information is crystal clear. Let me know that it's clear. Let me know that you're enjoying this live call. I would like as much feedback as I can get, because I want to make the show better for you all. I tend to only have a few people watching at a time. That's common because it's hard to get everybody at the same place at the same time. Usually when I post a video, a few people will watch it 1 hour, then a few people the next hour. So it's similar to that. So I understand that. But if y'all can give as much feedback as possible, if I can be more engaging, if I can answer any questions or be of more value to you, just feel free to go ahead and let me know that. So we're going to jump into investing. This is the order that I would do it in if I could go back to being, even 18 years old, to be honest. Now there's quite a few college people that I've spoken to who are, freshmen, or I've talked to pretty much every single year in college, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, but a lot of them have started Roth IRAs, and that means they're going to absolutely smoke most people who are adults already, because a lot of people don't even know what Roth IRAs are. I do have a whole video on Roth IRAs, breaking them down and everything. It's not the most exciting thing in the world, but learning it, I'll just go over it briefly. It's a tax advantaged account. As of this year, you can put up to $7,000 into it. It has to be after tax dollars, and it does have to be earned income to be eligible to go inside of a Roth IRA. But the money going in is taxed. The money going out is not taxed. It is an absolute cheat code. There's some things that I've been teaching on Wealth Journey Collective, which is my platform. If you're interested in that, there is a link in the description. But I've taught them about the backdoor Roth IRA method. I've taught them about the whole cheat code, how you could literally have millions of dollars in your Roth IRA. There's ways to do things, people, but we need to start at the basics first. The Wealth Journey Collective group is more, they're not all completely advanced, but it's typically people who are on there are more advanced, people who are, still working on their first 100,000, but they understand. And of course, being on the platform is going to make them more advanced in general, because it has my investing course in it as well, in which people are actually taught how to invest from scratch and how to understand and how to pick and choose their own stocks and their own ETFs and their own asset classes in general to invest in and what's best for them. They understand how to read. So I'm not just saying, hey, invest in this. I'm saying, look, this is how you understand what you should invest in. And then we can compare notes afterwards and see. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes they teach me about companies. They ask me about companies, and I look them up and I'm like, man, this was something that never even crossed my radar. So I say all that to say Roth IRAs first. Absolutely. Before you even get into a job, if you're young, you've probably worked a part-time job before. Put some of that money into a Roth IRA as soon as you possibly can, because there's no age limit for a Roth IRA. The only thing is you must be earning income to put money into a Roth IRA. And if you do that as early in life as possible, even if you're 16 years old, I promise you by the time you hit 30, you will be smiling ear to ear. You don't have to max it out. It's hard for even me to max it out, but I've been maxing it out since last year. I'm going to do it again this year, but just put something in it. Contribute something to it. Like the first year, it was like $1,000. Second year was like $1,500. I skipped like the third year or something. I skipped one of the years, but afterwards, I just boom, 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 and I've been maxing it out. So I've had my Roth IRA since 2021. So that tells you I learned that lesson a little later than I should have. 2021 was 4 years ago. I was 26. So imagine what it could be like if I were 21. Right now, my Roth IRA is just under $30,000, but imagine where it could be. Just imagine the possibilities. All right, so 401k, that's the second one. That's the one that I would do next, because when you get employed in a full-time job, they're like, hey, here's a 401k. Boom. A lot of people sleep on it. I slept on it. Well, they have this thing, typically, most companies have match programs. And it might be a 401k for you, or a 403b, or a thrift savings plan. They're all very similar. They have the same function pretty much. They're just different for different industries and things like that. We'll get into that later. But what you need to know is that if they say, hey, we're going to match you at up to 4%, that means you need to get their max match, which means the most you should be putting, you can put up to a crazy amount of money into your 401k, but I want you to contribute for that 4%, whatever the percentages they say. I'm saying 4% in this example. So if they say 5%, you do 5%. You get what I'm saying? But, excuse me. Matt, contribute 4% of your paycheck. So let's say 4% of that paycheck is $300. they're going to match that, and typically it's 50%. So they'll match that. So that you'll put in $300, they'll put in 150, which means you put in 4%, they give you an extra 2%. So over time, that extra money is going to actually compound for you and help. So your account's going to be growing by a percentage and by the investments anyway. But also, what's going to happen is they're going to throw in some extra money for free just because you're doing your 4%. It's hard to turn down free money. And you could argue, well, I'm working for it, it's not free. Yeah, but no one's going to give you 2% of what you're putting in for no reason, right? So it's as free money can get, in my humble opinion. That's the second thing I would do. I slept on it. I didn't max the match. I just kind of I think I gave like 2% when I was working at my previous job. But when I got into my current job, I was like, I'm going to max the match out because I want the max benefit. You go over the max, they're still going to match you at whatever percentage, but like your extra dollars aren't going to go the extra mile as much as you would think. So I say free that money up for yourself so you can do whatever you want with it. That's just my opinion. Again, this is not financial advice. Third, also slept on, the HSA account. Do we know what the HSA is? Let me know in the comments if you know what the HSA is. It stands for Health Savings Account. So you have bills at the doctor's office, you need to get medicine, or even or even supplements, vitamin D3, magnesium glycinate, zinc, fish oil, things that are good for your joints. You know what I'm saying? TT says no, so I'm gonna help you out. I'm gonna help you out. So basically, that money goes, it's triple tax advantaged actually, but the money that goes into your health savings account, it goes right off the top of your paycheck, but it's not even taxed yet. It goes into that account. So let's say you have a doctor's visit, it's just piling up money pretty much every month. It just depends on how your work does it and how your things go at open enrollment. But basically, that money you don't have to spend out of pocket. Like as far as your checking and savings account, you could spend that money, and they give you a little card usually so that you can go ahead and spend it, or they'll have an account digitally and then you send that money over to your bank account. Either way, you're not paying out of pocket, you're paying out of your health savings account. But the second tier, the second layer of that, which almost nobody talks about, you can invest inside of that. So I already said the health savings account is triple tax advantage. That means the money going in isn't taxed. The interest you get, because you even get an interest on your regular health savings account, it's a small percentage, but still, it's not taxed. And then once you take it out, it's not taxed. Now imagine investing. And I have a rule where I say my health savings account is going to have $1,000 in it max. The rest goes towards my health savings investing account. And guess what? The money that went in there, not taxed. It's going to grow. It's going to compound. It's going to do its thing. It's going to have dividends. The dividends are going to boom, do their thing. And it's going to take some time, but take it out, no tax. It is an absolute cheat code. That's exactly what it is. And a lot of companies, they might casually mention, yeah, invest in your HSA. But like that doesn't tell you, oh, I can actually take some of this money and invest in the stock market with it. And there's going to be a few options. If one of your options says VFIAX, I will say right now on the record, that's the one I chose. That's what I did because, in my opinion, it was the best investment that was up there. That's Vanguard's Admiral shares that represents the S&P 500. That is an index fund, and it is incredible. It has a very low expense ratio. If you don't know what that is, that's basically the amount that you pay for owning such, and it is way lower. So it has a lower expense ratio than your 401k, basically. Much lower, like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction lower, like so low that you probably won't even notice it unless like you're super close to the numbers behind it. TT, does that make sense? Does that explain what that means. Janelle Bailey says better than VTSAX. I mean, for me, it's just like looking at VOO versus VTI. You know what I mean? We're just talking about a wider range with VTSAX. We're talking about small, mid, and large cap companies, whereas VFIAX is talking about large cap companies only. They're very similar to VOO and VTI, respectively. You get what I'm saying, Janelle? That's so. VTSAX is great too. My specific HSA didn't have VTSAX, but my favorite one, it's been my favorite one since like 2017. I've been watching VFIAX, VTSAX. I've been watching VOO, VTI. I've been watching VGT since like 2017. So it's just a matter of preference, really. You could argue that VTSAX is a little bit more diversified, but I do like the fact that they're almost identical when you look at their charts. But what I do like from VFIAX is that it tends to it tends to grow a little better year over year. So that's just my opinion. Lastly, lastly. Janelle says thanks for educating. TT says yes, thank you. Awesome. I'm glad. Also, everybody in the chat room, if you do want to get on the Zoom call, you will not be shown on YouTube. I have my phone right here. This is where I do the Zoom calls through, and my mic is just below my phone. So that way everybody will be able to hear you, but they won't be able to see you. If you want to get on the call line, feel free to click that link. I do have the Zoom line open right now for anyone who wants to get on and discuss this stuff further. We're going to jump into the last one, which is individual brokerage account. You could argue that you could do this one first. I put it last strategically because we need this thing called education first and self-control. And so for me, if I would have done an individual brokerage account first, which I literally did, I did this whole thing out of order, by the way. So that's why I reordered them in a way that makes the most sense for, I think, anyone who was in the same shoes I was in. I would have been like, oh man, I'm up 100%. I would have took the whole mess out. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have let it grow and like my 401k or like my Roth IRA. I just would have taken it out and pocketed it because I was obsessed with saving money back then. So I would have been like, oh man, what if the stock market crashes? And so I kind of spiraled a little bit when it came to individual brokerage account. The reason why I have this last is because if you're investing in a Roth IRA from a young age, right, and you do what pretty much I tell you about when it comes to the ETFs and index funds and only focusing on those for something like a Roth IRA, right, you're going to look and be like, man, this has been growing consistently. Then you're going to look at your 401k. You're going to be like, man, this has been growing consistently. Then you're going to learn that you can actually look at what's inside of your 401k and you can look at what's inside your Roth IRA. You'd be like, man, I like these companies. And then your HSA, same thing. VFIAX, VTSAX. You know what I'm saying? There's all kinds of things. There's FXIAX, which is basically the same thing as VFIAX, but it's Fidelity's version. It just depends on what type of stuff that you're working with. But you're going to be like, okay. And then you can look inside of what's in that. You can do all those things. I show you on Wealth Journey Collective how to pretty much dissect funds of any kind. I don't care if it's your 401k. I don't care if it's an ETF, an index fund. We can look inside of it and see what is being allocated towards it. Remember, word of the day today is allocate. So y'all know what that means if you didn't know what it means. If you don't and you need me to refresh you, go ahead and let me know in the chat room. But I'm pretty sure at this point we know what allocate means. So now, especially for me, it would have made sense to then individual brokerage account. That, my friends, is what makes sense. And then also, something I forgot to mention, I spread these all out throughout my life, just year over year. I had always been into a 401k when I did my full-time job. I didn't get into my Roth IRA until I was 26 years old, so 5 years later. HSA, really, my company really didn't have an HSA until now. But when I was at my previous company, it did have an HSA. Individual brokerage account was pretty much what I did first. Plain and simple. But then there's also another one. There's life insurance and stuff, but I'm talking about financial freedom stuff. I'm not talking about things to, you know, to leave behind when you're gone and things like that. Even though it is important, we can talk about that in a separate thing. I don't want to overwhelm you with information because there's all kinds of different types of life insurance policies, and there's all kinds of opinions about which one you should have and why you should have it and blah blah blah. It's really up to you what you want. It's literally something that you're probably not going to get because it's not for you in the first place. It's for the people you care about. But the last one is crypto. Yes. The last one is crypto. I think if you understand the stock market, and you will have a pretty good understanding after getting into these four things that I just mentioned, it will be that much easier to understand the crypto market. And I would say this, if I could go back in time and talk to myself, I'd be like, look, Bitcoin is the only crypto you need to be worrying about. And there are other good ones. There's Ethereum. Ethereum's good. I have owned Ethereum, but I've also sold Ethereum and put it into Bitcoin. You get what I'm saying? So I have more faith and belief in Bitcoin than I do any other thing. We have to keep this thing simple. There are a lot of great investments out there, but you don't need to have all of them. You just need a few of them. Let your money grow. Like, there's a lot of great companies out there. You know, we know about Nvidia, we know about Apple, we know about Google. We know about OpenAI. They're not public yet, but we know about Microsoft, and they have quite a big stake in OpenAI. So, like, I don't expect everybody to just know this. I literally look this stuff up. I eat, breathe, and sleep this type of research. This is just what I enjoy doing. But I'm not chasing penny stocks and looking at what the next big thing is. I'm looking at what's already winning and what has been winning for the last 30 years. You know what I mean? You know what companies are great. You need to focus on just a few of them. You know what ETFs are great, especially if you've been watching me for a while. I talk about them all the time. But you only need to stick to a few. I mean, if you only stuck to VTSAX, you would be golden. If you only stuck with VFIAX, you would be golden. Like, you don't need a whole roster of investments. You'd be better off just having a fund that already has hundreds and sometimes thousands of companies that the fund already owns, that they're allocating their money to, and therefore is making the fund money. So we have to think about it like that. So yeah, I would say Bitcoin, but that's the order that I would do. So I'm going to recap everything real quick. As I'm recapping, let me know if you want to jump on Zoom. If not, that's cool. I have been going for a little while, so I'll probably just end the stream if y'all don't have any questions, or if y'all don't want to jump onto the Zoom call. But we are going to do a quick recap. Here are the things that you need to absolutely get good at that are easier said than done. Understand that the amount of money that you make every single year is not what you see on paper when they say, hey, your salary is $100,000. You're not really bringing home that $100,000, and you need to get good at understanding that and get good at understanding what the real number actually is, and doing so early on before you make financial decisions that will impact what your bills end up looking like. Number two, keep your overhead low. You have to get really good at keeping your overhead low and not giving into certain lifestyles that, you know, are more, I guess you could say, on the high end, you know, lifestyles that are kind of bougie and really just, you know, going above your means when you really don't have to. I have this famous saying, especially at work. I'm like, do you want to look good or do you want to be good? Because sometimes having money in your bank account but wearing modest clothing, you know what I'm saying, driving a quote regular car that does the exact same thing as, you know, those high-end cars do, which is get you from point A to B. It might have a fancier setup and things like that, fancier tech behind it, but they have a purpose, and that's get you from place to place. We have to think about it like that. I would rather people say, Reggie, don't you make all this money? And you're driving that car, that regular car, hey, there's money in my bank account. There's money in my investments. Like, that's, and I don't say this to people, granted, but it's good to know in your mind. You can go to sleep knowing you have several thousands of dollars in your bank account. You have several thousands of dollars in your investments, and they're growing. And once you hit that six-figure mark, which is the purpose of this video, is once you hit that six-figure mark, your money goes into overtime for you. Because one moment, I was like, man, I just hit six figures. Then the next moment, my 401k hit six figures. So we're talking about my entire net worth being six figures to just one account having six figures. Like, it happens very quickly. Like, that's why I want y'all to get to six figures as quickly as possible, because it is a great achievement for one, but two, if you can do that at a young age, if something happens and you can't invest as much, that money's going to do the work for you anyway. Of course, I still encourage everybody to keep putting what they can in, but if something happens, you have to take a few months off, you have to take a year off of investing, it's still going to grow for you. And that is the beauty behind investing. Number 3, understanding the timeline, of your bills. Maybe soda in a live stream is a bad idea, because now y'all got me out here burping. But understanding how the timeline of your bills work. So, plain and simple, our paychecks are pretty even, but our bills are not. You need to understand how your bills work. So I can't wait to release my app to you all and show y'all what it can do, because it is super smart. It has a chat GPT API in it, and you can literally go in there and ask it questions. You can say, look, based off my spending habits that you've shared with me, how would you customize a budget for me? And it will straight up make a budget for you. I've been working on this since March. I've been coding and coding and coding. I've spent hours. I pulled all-nighters. It's almost done. I think it will be fully ready for everybody at the end of this month. I'm extremely excited about it. And then last but not least, and the reason I brought that up is because it straight up tells you how much you spend per check. And then you can look at it month by month. You can literally zoom out and say, okay, every month, how much do I typically spend on bills per each check? And it'll straight up tell you. So it's an amazing thing. Number 4, saving money correctly by staying committed to your plan. You have to just stay committed to yourself. Say what you mean and mean what you say, and do what you plan on doing. That will get you to where you want to go every single time. If you're just now joining me, do me a favor, give this video a like, ask a question, jump on the Zoom call. If not, I'm about to end the stream. What I'm just doing right now is just doing a recap of what went on. And just so y'all know, these streams are very long. They're like at least an hour. So what I'm going to do for everybody is, on the back end, I'm going to be watching these streams, editing them down into little bite-sized videos where there may be, 10, 15 minutes or so. So it'll be a little more easily digestible. But I do like getting on live because it makes making videos easier. It makes interacting with everybody a lot easier. And it also helps me understand what questions y'all have. And I love receiving investing questions and things like that, because that is the cheat code behind getting your net worth to where it needs to be. It's not getting a raise at the job. That can help, but that's not what's going to make you rich. What's going to make you rich is what you do with that money from the raise or from the promotion at your job. You get what I'm saying? You're able to dedicate a certain amount towards investing, and this is the part that I actually forgot to mention, but you're able to dedicate a certain amount towards investing. Then as you make more, you invest more, because the whole point is to do what? Spend less than you earn and invest and save the difference. Investing order should be, in my humble opinion, Roth IRA, 401k, HSA, health savings account, and individual brokerage account, and then, if you want an extra one, crypto. But specifically, if you don't want to lose a stupid amount of money, look at Bitcoin. Look at Bitcoin. I will say it for a third time. Look at Bitcoin. There's no reason to look at anything else, in my opinion. There are going to be some things that probably make people millionaires, but there's a lot of stuff that you need to learn about crypto, because there's been times where people have dropped meme coins and people on paper were millionaires. Then they tried to cash out that money, and guess what? Crypto doesn't have a lot of, especially if it's a new coin on the block and it's not institution backed and it's not really purposeful. They lack liquidity, which means even if you are up, you can't take the money out. which means you put a lot of money in and you will never see that money again. I'm just putting it to you plainly. That's the stuff that people learn the hard way, and I'm trying to save you a few years worth of frustration and anxiety. So look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is literally mimicking what gold is doing right now, and it has been for quite a while. If you look at gold's track record versus Bitcoin, they're pretty much identical. And Bitcoin was designed to be finite and to revolutionize how we use money. And I've actually cashed out some of my crypto profits a little bit when I was into like Solana and Ethereum and Cardano. I know about the crypto now. I'm just telling you the one that's worth looking at. Sui. I was in all of those, and I cashed a lot of those out at a profit. And the cool thing is, there's an app called MoonPay that's attached to those. You cash it out, put it in the MoonPay, it gets sent to your bank account in like minutes. When you it's going to revolutionize money because you get your money right then. I don't care if it's a Saturday, I don't care if it's the holiday. It's going to send that money right on over. And that is the beauty behind it, because how often do you have to wait, you know, 1 to 3 business days for other money to get into your account? Even if like a friend pays you an Apple Pay and you don't want to pay that fee, so you send it over to your bank account instead of to your card, so you don't have to pay any dollars, but it's going to take you 1 to 3 business days. You don't want to wait 1 to 3, but you want your money now, even if you're not going to use it right then. You want your money now. So that's why I'm telling you, crypto is going to revolutionize money. I'm not just going to say it just because everybody on the internet is saying it. I'm saying it because I know, because I have made money in crypto. I have cashed out crypto, and I have sent it to my bank account same day, same hour. You know what I'm saying? Within the half hour. Less than that, to be perfectly honest. It really just takes like 5 minutes. But I say that because of the simple fact that people are like, well, what's the point of crypto? Look into Bitcoin. If you don't look into any other crypto, which I specifically said, look into Bitcoin. That's all I'm putting my money into as far as crypto goes. I'm just doing $100 a month. If I get extra money, fine, I'll put extra money into it. But year over year, look at it in 4 years and tell me you didn't get a significant return. That's all I'm saying. Got a little passionate there about Bitcoin, but I'm a passionate person when it comes to investing and personal finances as a whole. Investing just so happens to be the thing that I'm most excited about. Do y'all have any questions? Does everybody feel more empowered and more educated to go out there and get their first $100,000? Because I actually, I'm going to put my notes away because I don't have any more notes for y'all. I'm just speaking from the heart at the moment, and the mind, of course. But when I was 22 years old, I went to this online mastermind thing on Facebook, and I was just so eager to learn. I was taking notes, and there was this older gentleman talking. He was a financial advisor, and he was talking about how, you need to have your portfolio 60% in stocks, 40% in bonds. He wasn't talking about no ETFs. He wasn't talking about a lot of the stuff that we talk about today. He was giving old school advice and outdated advice. If y'all notice, I didn't say nothing in this video about no bonds. And that's no shade to him. That's just how things were back in his day when that made more sense. There's actual different timelines of how you should invest. And that's a whole different story. That's why I told y'all in the last live, if I were able to sit down with my younger self, my 21-year-old self, I would tell him to read Money Master the Game, because it actually explains how the cycles work and things like that. But I was sitting through, I was taking notes, I was eager. And the next thing I knew, it was over with. But if somehow I was able to send this video to that same person who was in that mastermind, when I was eager, took that same version of Reggie, just as eager to learn, but put him in front of this video, and he actually applied, which he would, because it's me, we wouldn't be talking about 0 to 100K. We might be talking about going from 0 to 1 million in your 20s. No lie. I'm 30 now. I'm blessed to be in the position I'm in. I'm nearing very quickly the 200K mark. Um, but I see greater for myself and I see greater for you. So the first 100K is the first part. You know what I mean? The second 100K for me is going to be a milestone, but the goal is a million. And I told y'all my 5 year goal is 5 million. And I don't care how crazy it sounds. I think people would be astonished at how far I would go to see what I can do. Um, because it's not just for me. The whole point is a personal finance. It's not just for me. It's not just for you. It's to help other people be educated around finances and do the same thing for themselves. And I give a lot of this information out for free, but I also get on my Wealth Journey Collective group and break down the actual application of doing all the things that I'm talking about. I answer the questions. I answer what a stop loss is. I answer, how you even buy a security in the first place. What even is a security? Do I hit the trade button? Is trading the same thing as buying? Am I trading short term? Am I trading long term? How is this going? You're going to have a lot of initial questions because investing platforms can be very confusing. There's a lot of verbiage up there. What's a dividend? You know what I mean? And that's why I do the word of the day on this live, because y'all need to be educated on what these words actually mean. You need to understand what compound interest is. You need to understand, do I reinvest my dividends or do I treat them like paychecks and cash them out? Based on the nature of this video, you need to obviously reinvest them so you can keep compounding on top of each other. But it's not just for me. It's not just about making as much money as possible, because people always say, why are you saving all this money? Why are you investing all this money? You can't take it with you. I'm not trying to take it with. Has it ever crossed anybody's mind that maybe people who have a lot of money and are striving to get a lot of money aren't trying to take it with them? Maybe they're just trying to make sure that, and they've calculated how many years they won't have to work based on the amount of money that they have invested and based on how much money that those investments are making. There are people who have invested so much money that they can literally take out $5,000 every 2 weeks and treating those as if they're their paychecks. Don't have to work. And then it's not affecting the principal, so the investment is still growing. And they're only taking like a very small percentage off the top. They're not trying to take it with them. They're buying time and they're buying freedom for themselves and for their families when they're gone. The point of this is legacy. The point of this is leaving something behind for the children, for the family, for the children's children. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's not about taking it with you. People live in this fast life thing like, well, can't take it with me, so I might as well spend it. That is a dumb mentality. I don't care what anybody says. I'm not trying to sound rude, but that is a dumb mentality to have. Because why? You might die tomorrow. You might live another, 80 years. People are living longer. Which one sounds more likely? So, yes, we all have our time, but the important thing that we need to do while we're alive is be good stewards of the money, because you don't need to look at money as if it's your own. You need to look at the money as if it's to be kept in the family and for people you otherwise care about, so that when you pass on, they have something and they're educated as well. You don't just pass on the money, you pass on the education as well. And that's what I'm doing here on this platform with my Wealth Journey Collective. That's what I will be doing with my app once I release it to everybody, because it will make your lives a lot easier. I've been using, I created it for myself because I wanted to understand how I could have even better control of my finances. But when I saw how useful it was to me, then I spent 6 months plus coding it to be accessible to the whole world. That's what I did. Automatically connects with your bank account. It doesn't keep any proprietary information, and it has all that stuff up there for you so you can read it once it's available. But it's not all about you. It's not all about keeping as much money as possible. What it's about is having something meaningful for yourself, for your family, and not to be bound. Like when a family member dies or something, I know it's kind of dark, but when a family member dies or something, being worried about your job. you should not have to worry about your job in those instances. If your mental health is jacked up or something, worrying about still getting the paychecks coming in. Life happens sometimes. Or if you just had a baby, this is this is the part that resonates most with me. Having a baby or something, and wanting to spend as much time with them as possible, not having to worry about missing football games, basketball games, volleyball games, whatever sport, if your child gets into sports, or if they're into the arts where they're doing marching band, or they're doing an art show or something of that nature, or if they're into singing or even dancing or gymnastics or something. I want to be a father who's present in my kid's life and in my wife's life. I don't have a wife or kids yet, but that's what I'm working on. You get what I'm saying? And everything I do right now is to make me a better man and to make me a better protector and provider. That's why I like Muay Thai. That's why I like martial arts. That's why I like punching, kicking, elbowing, the knee in people. You know what I'm saying, for sport. But on the other end, that's why I'm heavily into the personal finance education space, because I immerse myself in learning about it to the point where I could get to teaching about it, because I can teach it in a way that I wish that I was taught it. Does that make sense? Because I was taught in a way that some people contradicted each other, and neither way was necessarily wrong, but you have to go with the person. And I've been encouraged to invest. I've been discouraged to invest by people. Um, and I'm teaching things in the way that I wish somebody sat down with me when I was 21 years old. So this is bigger than just money. This is bigger than just getting the nice things, getting the Rolexes, getting the nice cars, getting the nice houses, and looking rich and looking richer than you really are. This is about building a legacy, building something truly meaningful. And that is what my purpose is with this channel. So I know I kind of went on a little bit of a tangent there, but I had to share that message just because I know there's always someone watching that asks, well, what's the point of all of this? That is the point, my friend. What I just said, that is the point. So anyway, I'm about to go ahead and sign off. I appreciate all of y'all's participation. I appreciate your viewership, and I will see you all next time. I'll see y'all on Wednesday. I do have a video, a live stream coming out on Wednesday, and depending on how quickly I can get these videos edited down, I will be sending those out on the days where I'm not actually posting live. So don't know how many days a week that will be exactly, but I plan on making it fairly often. So anyway, I hope y'all got value out of this. I hope this was helpful for you. And I hope to see y'all continue to join me on Wednesday nights, and so I can become part of your nightly routine Wednesday evenings and every other Saturday evening. So some weeks I'm posting twice a week. Some weeks I'm posting once a week. It just depends. I'm really lining this up with my work schedule. But anyway, y'all have a fantastic evening, and I will see you.